Okay, so I went and I finished the detail of the fork, and so it looks like a very fat fork. And now what I want to do, I went and saved it to, I created a new project. So if you go into all my projects, I called it cutlery. So I've got the fork in here. So now what do? I've got this new body that I created, so I can turn that body off. I can turn the top view canvas off, and I can go to the side view. And you could even turn the body on and see that we essentially want to create what is going to be the fork and what is going to be the not fork, I guess. So I don't need the body on right now. I do want to draw on that face, so it looks like it's the bottom. And if we go into our orbit tool and just try to decide which, it looks like it's the XZ. So that is the XY, which is not it. That is the YZ. So I kind of think it's that view, but just to confirm, I'm going to go to right. That's not it. Bottom. So you can see that it's twisted just as the other one was twisted. So it seems to be this is where I want to create my sketch. So I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to hover over these until the right one turns the color I want. So it looks like it's that one. And so now it's the same thing, right? We've got a curve. There's not a single straight line. Some of it maybe we're going to ignore. So typically we're going to go back to our spline tool, and we're going to start just zooming in, and you're just going to decide where on that grayscale you're going to be happy with. And you can't, it's because it's a spline, you can't actually get away from the fact that it's going to be in a curve. There's probably about 10 different ways of doing this. And when you get to a tighter curve, I typically put more dots in, and that holds its place. You can adjust them later. Feel free to fast forward through the video. So now I got a choice. There's a little bit of a fork view that, like, if I wanted it fatter there or thicker, I could, but I'm gonna keep with the shadow line and see how that works. Whenever you're doing something for the first time, people always think that it's going to happen right away, but you're gonna take probably 5 shots at this before you're happy, depending on your personality. And I think what you want is you want a fork that's not very chunky. So now you've got a couple options here. You could put in a flat surface, like typically forks are going to be flat, but you might also want to just put in a whole bunch of dots. And that way it's not completely straight, plus you can change it later. So again, you can use the fast forward button if you want. I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. So if you lose what you're trying to do, you're basically trying to offset that line that you've already made. You could probably use the offset tool if you wanted it totally symmetrical. I'm not sure how they manufacture forks, whether they're casted, so liquid metal into a form, or whether they're basically punched out like you'd make cookies, or a combination of both. I guess there's probably different ways of doing it. The cheaper ones might be just use a gigantic press and cut them out like cookie cutters. So if you've been to a lot of restaurants, you'll notice that no two restaurants have the same cutlery. We're almost done. So once I'm finished this and I'm happy with the shape, remember that you can move any one of these dots that you want independently. Now this is where you could use a different tool. You could probably use an arc or a 3-point arc. I'm just going to keep the dots really close together and go through here. And that should be it. So I want to join those. It doesn't seem to want to join. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to hit finish. So it did actually join, and I do have these dots, so I can hit escape to get out of my tool, and I can grab these and move them, I hope. And I can just make fine adjustments. Now the enemy to any extrusion project is to have so that your end isn't totally together. Now you can sort of see that there is there's blue corners in here, so that's not always desirable. You could change it with an arc. You could change it with more dots, I guess. But once you're happy with your shape of your fork, then you can hit finish, and you can select your object, and you can push and pull on it. In this case, you might want to turn your body back on, and then you want to take a look at it from a larger perspective. So this actually might be better done as a cut tool. So I'm going to stop the video right now just to figure out the best way to do this.